Hey everybody, Adam here with Hometown Acres. Welcome back. So Metza Machines came and picked up the Yappa 365 to take to its new home, but they did not come empty-handed. They swapped it out and brought us this barrel cleaner that you see here behind me. You might be asking yourself, Adam, what good does a barrel cleaner do if you don't have a firewood processor to put it on? Well, luckily, hydraulics are hydraulics, and we should be able to tap into the hydraulics of the Eastonmade 37D. So that's the one nice thing is hydraulic hoses and couplers, they are pretty universal. So as long as the 37D has enough horsepower and gallons per minute flow to run the 37D itself, the attached conveyor, and the barrel cleaner with the attached conveyor, this should be a pretty sweet setup. But that does pose a new problem for us in that when we originally put the floor plan together for this building, it was for a firewood processor and a log splitter, and now our equipment has changed, right? We've got that Eastonmade 37D is a pretty long unit, and then you add a barrel cleaner onto the end of it, and I think I measured the total footprint that will take up if you just have them in one long chain is about 43 feet. So we've got some rearranging to do here, and luckily I've been friends with neighbor Doug, or One Eye Customs, for the last 5 or 6 years, and he's rubbed off on me a little bit. And one thing I've learned from him, it is way easier to floor plan with pen and paper or in some kind of software rather than moving equipment around and seeing what it looks like. So that's what I did. I got some graph paper out in Photoshop and marked out, measured all these pieces of equipment and marked them to scale. And then I just started playing around with different floor plans to see what I like. So I think I've got one that we're gonna go with here today. And that's what we're up against, is getting everything moved, rearranged. And then I do wanna test out this barrel cleaner by the end of this video and see how well does it work as compared to the grizzly bars that we made just a couple of months ago. All right, so here is the new floor plan for the wood yard. We've got the log bucking table set there 90 degrees to the Eastonmade 37D. We moved it from that bay down there facing that way to this overhang here. This is a 14-foot lean-to. We've got the axis set up here. And we purposely left all of the equipment as close to these posts as we could so that we can still stack baskets on this side here. I'm gonna end up, you know, when you're stacking baskets, you got to think about not only putting them away and storing them, but you've got to think about getting them back out too, and in the right order. So as I stack baskets here, this will be the oldest stock, and then it'll get newer, 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 and when I go to pull the wood out, I need to be able to access from this side to then start pulling from this way and pull all the oldest stock out first and then work my way through. So we've got this plenty wide enough to get in here with the tractor and get baskets in and out. There is the Yappa barrel screener, and as you can see, it plumbs right into the hydraulic system of the Eastonmade 37D right here. And basically when you hook these up, it's just like if you're doing solar or a battery system where you're going to hook them up in series, positive to negative, or in this case, male to female hydraulic couplers. And so we've actually just did 1 or 2 logs run through here, and it does have enough power to run the splitter, the conveyor, the barrel cleaner, and the outfeed conveyor. These are actually 2 separate motors here. You can see there's a motor on the conveyor, and then there is a motor somewhere right there on the tumbler itself. And so I was originally thinking we were going to put the dump trailer down here in this bay, and then I would stack right here, which we still may do that, but kind of where things lined up, that conveyor is falling out right near a post, so we couldn't get the dump trailer. And so for the time being, I'm just going to have it go right into baskets. And that's what I'm struggling with right now is, do I want to, I mean, the whole point of a barrel screener is to get all that scrap out of the wood so it can just loose fall into these baskets and you can eliminate stacking. However, the stacked baskets do look way, way nicer. So I'm kind of torn on whether I just want to go back to loose throwing them in or having the stacked baskets. It's going to save me a lot of labor not stacking them, but it does look better. We've got the Ultratech dump trailer in under here to catch all of the fines that comes out that gets screened out into here. And while I was moving baskets, Doug was in here sweeping up the floor and getting this all looking good again. And he completely repurposed an IBC tow, because I had all this stuff just laying on the floor, and I said I really need like a workbench down here or something. And this was the quickest way to get a workbench down here. And he did, as Doug does, did a pretty nice job with giving me a nice storage place for all my tools and everything down here in the wood yard. So got all our baskets moved over underneath this overhang here with plenty of room to get in this way, and I'll be able to come in from that side there and pull baskets out. So enough talking, let's go ahead and start cutting, and we'll see how well this thing does. My goal is I want to fill up 1 or 2 of these baskets, or maybe a little bit more, and then stack them and show you guys what it filters out and how much stuff would be left behind that I would not call sellable firewood. so we got 2 full baskets heaped up over the edge, and I just wanted to show you guys, I haven't touched anything yet. Obviously this is just what spilled off the top of the basket, but you know, there are a couple of pieces that end up getting spun out and around, but really not much. I mean, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces that came out of the hopper there, so I think that's pretty good. And here is how much stuff got filtered out. That is quite a bit of trash that otherwise would be in here. Now, I'm going to pull these baskets out and stack them. I'm going to take all of the good pieces of firewood out, and we're going to see how much of this kind of stuff is still left in. Again, it's not going to get everything, but it got quite a bit. So, Doug, what do you think? You saw it run just the same as I did.
I think it's pretty darn awesome, actually.
It's pretty cool, yeah.
You know, we talked the other day about maybe a second dump trailer in your future for just
for catching the
and
stuff.
I mean, explain to them why you do it that way, because that is actually a very good way to do it.
So what I'll do, you guys have seen me do it before, I'll put the dump trailer in underneath. Well, I'd probably have it go that way, and then as I am stacking out of the back of the dump trailer, you know, you'll create a void in the back, and then you got to reach over the side rails to get the rest of it if the trailer didn't dump. But then you can raise the dump trailer, and all that wood will continue to funnel down to you and keep you a constant supply of wood to stack.
Yeah, and so what that does is it lessens your handling of picking up and out of here. It's easier on your back for the twisting and turning, pulling them and lifting them out of here. You don't have this big of a mess. And the other thing is it'll let you run the splitter a lot longer, because you've got a bigger, let's call it a dumpster. We've got a bigger dumpster to fill, and you know, you can get a better idea of, okay, I can stop now. So,
but what's going to be the telltale sign of whether I'm going to continue stacking baskets like I did over there is how much scrap is still left in here. Because if this is pretty clean, I may save myself all that labor of stacking and just leave it like this. It just depends, and you really can't tell until you stack it and see what's left behind. I mean, there's a little bit of scrap right here on top because, you know, as we were done, we finished up what was kind of stuck in the bottom of the conveyor there. So that's what all this is. But otherwise, the rest of this does, you know, just at a glance, look pretty clean. So.
Yeah, and then, you know, if we go down the line here a little bit with being able to hook up to your trash trailer here, pulling that out and dumping it. I think, and I don't know who I seen do it. It might have been Jake, but they put ropes on their totes underneath there.
Handles. I need to do that because pulling those things out, you just can't get a good grip on it when it's loaded down and heavy. I need to get some handles on there so it's easier to pull out from under the machine.
Yeah, and then the other thing, with having this thing 90 degrees to the splitter, and we moved it a little bit closer, it's just that much less that you have to actually pick and carry. And I know in your last video I mentioned, and about 20 other people mentioned about, man, you made my back hurt by watching you carry those. Well, actually, when I was carrying these over, if you don't bend over and pick anything up, you just kind of lock your muscles in, it's not hard on your back at all. And that's what I did. You know, I was out of camera feeding the splitter today, and it's really not that bad, but
yeah, you're only pivoting your back maybe about 5 degrees as opposed to bending the whole way down 90 to pick stuff up off the ground.
Correct. And then having this thing 90 to that, it's throwing all the wood chips out, so they're not getting blown back on the splitter like how you had it over on the other end there.
Yeah, they're all here on the ground and actually giving you, you know, if you had any mud or anything here, gives you something to walk on that's not mud.
Yeah, and then when they're all cut, they're literally right here at a convenient height. So I'm shorter than you, so I don't even have to bend over at all. I just wrap my paws around it, pick it up and turn and set it onto the log lift. Now, people will say, well, why? That's why you have a log lift. Well, it is when, like, there was 2 of them that I couldn't pick up. They were too darn heavy, so I just rolled them up to the log lift and used it for that when it's already on the ground.
Somebody left a comment in the last video that said all these log splitters, these commercial log splitters that have lifts on them, nobody actually uses them as a log lift. They use them as an extended work table, which is, I mean, I would say this is how we use it 90% of the time. Occasionally I will use it for the lift feature, but it's nice that you can do that.
But now here's the thing, and I'll show you real quick here. So I'm not bending over at all, okay?
That doesn't hurt your back at all.
No,
to
it's
do
not.
that.
You know, I'm standing straight up and down. I bring this over, and I can just set it on there like that. But let's say I have to pick this thing up off the ground. I now have to pick that 120 pounds, I mean 320 pounds. I have to pick that thing up off the ground here, and that's where you hurt your back.
Yeah.
So
the other nice thing I like about this layout is we have the axis setting right over here for stuff like this. Obviously, this would go through the 37D. That's a 37-ton splitter. It'll split anything. However, it's just going to mangle and chew up and shred the stuff with big knots in it. So I can come over here, and now with the single knife on the axis, I can cut out this whole knot section here and then make perfect bundle grade wood out of this log, with the exception of the knot on that side, and just kind of work around it a little bit easier than with the box wedge. So I think this is going to work out well.
Ultimately, your setup here, you know, you come in and you go out with your wood. I showed earlier a video of how much wood you actually have left over there. There's a lot over there.
I got to get to it.
Yeah, but you could help a neighbor out, bring some over to his place.
Do you need some?
Not yet.
I got a dump trailer and a bigger truck now.
Yeah, but you know, with bringing it all in, whether you bring it from the woods or in or whatever, it comes in, processed, and out, stacked and whatever. And then, like you said before, you got the spack wall to do your FIFO, first in, first out on that too.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get that basket stacked up, and we'll see just how much scrap's left in the bottom and how good of a job that cleaner did. Well, after we got done stacking these baskets, I just got an order for 2 baskets, so I pulled 2 off the pile there and got to take the Aluma-Duty out on its maiden voyage. First firewood delivery in the new truck. Biggest thing I can tell so far, one is the diesel is awesome. I love driving that thing. And 2, the Super Duties have a 6 3/4 bed, whereas my old F-150, even with the long box, had a 6.5 foot bed. And so with my old F-150, I could get 2 baskets in the bed, but I couldn't get the tailgate closed, and that extra couple inches allowed me to get 2 baskets in the bed of the new truck and get the tailgate closed, so that was pretty sweet. But back to the Yappa barrel cleaner. Here is the results. I mean, there's what the wood looks like off of the 37D, pretty good looking stuff. And here is the amount of scrap left. Now I'm gonna reserve my opinion for myself and let you guys decide, and I wanna hear from you in the comments. Is this an acceptable amount of scrap from, I'm going to call this probably 2/3 of a cord stacked in those 2 baskets. And if you look what's left behind in this basket, it's not quite 2 rails. That's one thing that's nice about these IBC totes is everything is very measurable. Now this tote took the brunt of all the scrap because it was directly below the end of the conveyor. This one has significantly less in it because as it was falling off, all the scrap landed here, and then as it started to build up, all of the clean pieces then rolled off into this tote. So between the 2 totes, that's all the more scrap that there was. I'm pretty pleased with that. You're never going to get all of it, and especially with the box wedge on the Eastonmade 37D, the nature of the type of scrap that it creates is almost firewood style stuff. It's a lot of kindling. Now don't get me wrong, this stuff is not just scrap or waste. There's still a lot of BTUs in this. As a matter of fact, I just took up half a basket of this stuff up to the wood shop, and I'm burning this stuff in the shop. Granted, you know, you're gonna reload the stove every hour or 2 instead of every, 3 or 4 hours, but there's still a lot of heat left in this style of scrap. And what any type of screener is going to filter out is the fines, all of this stuff. And this is really what you don't want leaving a mess in somebody's driveway, is all of that kind of stuff. That being said, the results were fairly similar to a set of grizzly bars, which is obviously much cheaper, but this did still kick out a lot of that style stuff. Not all of it, but you're not gonna filter this stuff out with grizzly bars, whereas with this, you're gonna start getting into being able to filter some of that stuff out. Now, this still is just our first run with this machine. There's still a lot of fine tuning that you can do in terms of raising this up and making it not quite so steep, so that I noticed when I went back and looked at some of the footage, some of the pieces of wood, they hit there in the trough and then they go flying down the chute before they get a chance to get tumbled. So I may end up trying to, these legs are adjustable so you can adjust them up. I don't know if I want to take it up, a full 6 inches that they have for the preset holes there. I may end up just putting, you know, building up 2 or 3 inches worth of dirt to kind of give me a half of a step up, because you still want that wood to go down. If you raise it up too much and it's just flat, it's never going to get out of the barrel. It's just going to stay in there and continue to tumble. So you still want it to have a grade going down. And one thing I did notice from watching the footage is you actually almost kind of want it to build up here at the end of the conveyor so that it back feeds into the tumbler and holds material in there a little bit longer. Another thing we can play with is, you know, the rate at which the barrel spins, either slower or faster, or the outfeed conveyor, slower or faster. It's all completely adjustable. Also, this conveyor does pivot, which is nice because, you know, we just had 2 baskets there, but if I wanted to, I could put another 2 over on the side, fill these 2, pivot the conveyor over, and do 2 more. And that's really nice with the 37D because the conveyor on the 37D does not pivot. It is a fixed conveyor. So this gives me the ability to slew the conveyor back and forth off of a 37D. So there you go, guys. That is the new floor plan here in the woodyard with the addition of the new barrel cleaner from Yappa. I will leave a link in the description below to Metza Machines, the importer for Yappa here in the States, where you can find more information on this as far as pricing. But I'm pretty happy with it. I think it's going to improve how we do things here in the woodyard and really eliminate a lot of that scrap that we have in our firewood. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, give me a big thumbs up, click that subscribe button, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.